Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about a solved true crime case from County Durham, England. This killer was aptly named the Facebook Killer. As usual, I just wanted to clarify that the information I have researched has been compiled from the internet and is for educational purposes. I mean no disrespect to anyone I speak about in this video, and I've tried to gather the facts of the case as best as I can. Please let me know if any of my information is incorrect. Okay, let's get into the Facebook killer and his murder victim, Ashley Hall. Ashley had a big family and lived with her 3 sisters and mother in Darlington. Being the eldest of the siblings, she helped out around the house and helped her mother a lot, who described her as her rock and her best friend. Ashley attended college and one day hoped to work with young children. It was back in 2009 and Ashley, like any other 17-year-old girl, was always on her phone and social media chatting to her friends. She just loved socialising. And she also spent a lot of time on the social media network Facebook, like many teenagers did and still do. It was back in October 2009 when Ashley was on Facebook, like any other normal day, but this day was different. However, she received a friend request from a young guy called Peter Cartwright. She looked into his profile and she probably found him quite attractive. His profile picture was him shirtless, he was around about her age, and so, seeing nothing untoward, she accepted his friend request. He had nearly 3,000 friends, he had posts, pictures. Although they did not have any mutual friends, I'm not sure whether Ashley knew this at the time. Either way, she accepted his request anyway. Not long after she accepted his request, Peter messaged her. She obviously replied and they got into chatting to each other. They chatted like this for a few days. Ashley was excited. She told all of her friends that this guy who made the first move and added her as a friend on Facebook was chatting to her. It obviously made her feel good about herself. She showed them his pictures and her friends were happy for her. From what I could find, it seemed like Ashley hadn't had a boyfriend before and there wasn't much in the way of guys actually speaking to her very often. She probably had a low self-esteem when it came to talking to guys. So the fact that he was chatting to her and was paying her with compliments and whatnot really would have made her feel so elated. Ashley and Peter spoke every night on Messenger and Facebook, and they got to know each other, or so she thought. She learnt Peter was a DJ, and as I said previously, he was full of compliments for Ashley. After around 6 days of chatting, Peter asked Ashley if she would meet him. She agreed and they made arrangements for the 25th of October 2009. They arranged for Ashley to stay at Peter's house overnight and he let her know that his dad would drop her off in the morning. She agreed to this. On the morning of the 25th, Peter messaged Ashley asking if it would be okay if his dad picked her up. I mean, Peter couldn't drive yet, so Ashley figured that this was okay and she agreed. She spent the whole day getting ready, packing her things, her overnight bag. She was just so excited. Her family remember being in a really good mood and she was just messaging her friends all day. She was generally just really happy. It was around 7:30 p.m. that Sunday evening that Ashley went downstairs and asked her mother, Andrea, if she could stay over at a friend's. Andrea agreed, but told her that she would have to be home by dinner time the following day. Ashley said, yep, that's fine, and she went back upstairs. Not long after that, Ashley received a text from Peter's father. This text said, "Hi hon, it's Pete's dad. Are you sure you don't mind me picking you up? Pete is really looking forward to seeing you, and yes, it is okay for you to stay." Ashley responded with, "No, it's fine, I don't mind. I trust him, so I trust you. And thank you." Not long after this, she received a text from Pete saying, "Me dad's on his way, babe. He says excuse the state of him, lol. He doesn't have to come in and meet your mum, does he, lol? He'll be a mess probably, lol. Oh, and are you wearing some sexy underwear for me, hee hee, kiss." Ashley replied with, "Okay, babe." And no, he doesn't, lol. And it's okay, haha. What car has he got? And you'll have to wait and see, won't you? So, Ashley waited for Peter's father to turn up and take her to the bar she had been chatting to. Eventually, his father pulled up outside. Ashley ran downstairs, said her goodbyes to her mother, and off she went. She met his father outside in his blue Ford Mondeo and got into his car to go to Peter's house. And that was the last time anyone ever saw Ashley Hall alive again. The next day, Monday, around dinner time, Andrea was obviously waiting for her daughter's return because that was the time she'd given her. And Ashley was a good girl. She usually respected and adhered to the timelines that her mother provided for her. But she did not come home. Andrea, not wanting to be like a nagging mother, thinking that she's just lost track of time, figured, I'll try and contact her, but she will be home soon. The time went on and she received no word from Ashley. She had texted and called her, but had received no response and was getting rather frightened by this point. She continued to try and contact Ashley. And about the 30th call at around 7 p.m. that night, someone finally picked up. It was not Ashley. It was in fact a police officer. They both asked who each other were, and the police informed her that they had found this mobile phone, Ashley's mobile phone, in a man's car that they had just arrested. The policeman said that he would call Andrea back. Obviously at this point, Andrea must have felt so confused and scared. Did Ashley lose her phone? Why did she not try and contact her mother? And why was her phone in this man's car? Had he stumbled across it and found it and was maybe planning on giving it her back? What was going on? Where was her daughter? Andrea then decided to put out an appeal on Facebook, asking if anyone who knew where her daughter was to contact her immediately. Ashley's friend Kirsty phoned Andrea, and she told her that her and Ashley had not seen each other since college broke up. She had not stayed at Kirsty's house that night. Later that day, it was about 11:30 p.m, the police turned up at Andrea's house. They were invited in and they told Andrea to sit down. Putting a pillow over her head, not wanting to hear the news that would surely follow, the police officers broke the heartbreaking news that they had found a body. And after the identification the following night, it was confirmed to be Ashley's. She had been murdered. Ashley was murdered within an hour from her being picked up from her house. Her body was discovered fully clothed, laid in a farmer's field near a lay-by. She had been raped and her cause of death was suffocation. So now comes the really strange part. Ashley's body was discovered the day after her meeting with Peter's father, as I'm sure you're aware, was not innocent. The police or the public did not just happen across her body and from that realise that a murder had taken place. No. They also did not follow up on a missing person report and find a body that way because Andrea had not yet reported it to the police. The way in which they did actually discover this murder was when a man was arrested for minor traffic offences at around 5:40 p.m, later then admitted to murder. While sat in his cell after being arrested, he decided to call over an officer and state to him, I killed someone last night. I need to tell someone, I need to talk to CID. Rightly so, this officer was surprised and shocked. They'd brought this man in for minor traffic offences and he's admitting to murder. The officer then explained to him that if he was going to admit to something like this, they would need to go to the front desk where the recording equipment was so he could state it again and it would be recorded. They then took him round to the front and here is the footage of when he made his confession into the camera.
Right, come stand here, please.
Right, do you remember what you said to me in the cell?
I killed somebody last night. I need to tell somebody from CID where the body is.
This is what I've written. I want to speak to somebody from CID that I killed someone last night. Do you agree that's true with what you said?
That's true, yes.
What was the last bit you said there about you need to tell them where the body is?
Because it hasn't been reported yet.
32-year-old Peter Chapman, a homeless drifter, later confessed to the rape and murder of Ashley Hall. He had used the alias Peter Cartwright. The 17-year-old boy Ashley had been speaking to for around a week and was so excited to meet was actually a 32-year-old man. A few weeks prior to the grooming of Ashley, Peter had in fact been doing the same thing with another girl. She was 15 years of age, they'd been chatting online, they arranged to meet each other in a B&Q car park. This girl turned up and as she spotted an older man in the car described to be the 17-year-old's, she fled the scene immediately, knowing that something was wrong. Now, Peter had a new problem. How was he going to get the girls that he had groomed online to actually get in the car with him when he was pretending to be a 17-year-old boy and in fact was a 32-year-old man? This is why he stated to Ashley that his dad would pick her up instead of him. That way, she gained the trust of him, got into the car thinking that this man was his father, when in fact it was not. For this to work, he implemented a lot of thought. He went and purchased a second phone and SIM card so that he could actually speak to Ashley off the 2 different numbers, pretending to be the 2 different people, basically. As I said before, he was homeless, so how difficult it was for him to get this second phone, I am not sure. But his plan worked, unfortunately, and poor innocent Ashley got into a car with the man she did not know. Peter drove her to the lay-by, forced her out of the car, taped up her hands and her feet, and forced her to perform oral sex on him. He then taped up her mouth, removed her lower clothing, and raped her. After that, he removed the binds on her hands, told her to pull her own shirt, and then rebound them. He then took the rest of the tape and continued to wrap it around Ashley's head, covering her nose and mouth until she suffocated. From what I could find, I don't actually think that Ashley's body was discovered with any tape on it, so he must have tried to remove that and place it in his car before he left. He then moved her body a bit lower down to a more obscuring location and he left. This is where we then loop back around to where he was caught for the minor offences. It's actually so lucky that the police picked him up when they did, as he was actually going to meet another girl that day. Who knows when this would have ended, how many more girls he would have done this to. Would he have even turned into a serial killer? I know by this point it was too late for poor Ashley, but at least he didn't manage to take another innocent girl's life that day. The police obviously searched his car and they found all of the evidence that he had not even remotely tried to hide. Like I said, he was living out of his car, so it's full of trash and fast food wrappers and whatnot. But there was also tape in there that still had Ashley's hair stuck in it, as well as her phone. He told them he knew the area where her body was and offered to take the police to the scene. Officers were led to a back lane near a Little Chef restaurant and a travel lodge, and they discovered Ashley's body around 11 p.m. Now, Peter Chapman was described as a bit of a loner when he was younger and a rather odd character whilst in school. Peter has been involved with the police previously on many occasions, the first being when he was 15 years old, and he was accused of sexual assault. This case was later dropped. 4 years later, again, another girl came forward claiming that he had raped her. The same thing happened. This case was dropped further down the line. I don't know the circumstances behind why they were dropped, I just know that they were. In that same year, he was given his first sentence for the rape of 2 sex workers. These were just 2 days apart. He tied them up, put a knife to their throats, and told them he would slit them if they tried anything. He then robbed both of these women. The thing that might actually enrage a lot of people is that he served only 3.5 years of a 7-year sentence for this. He was released in 2001 and added to the sex offenders register. The police did not really regulate this very well, and it seemed that they never really checked up on Peter, as he flew under the radar for the next 8 years up until Ashley's murder. We're now in 2002, where Peter moved in with his girlfriend and her child. She later found out that Peter was on the sex offenders register and kicked him out. This was when he started having his financial troubles and began living from his car. To keep himself afloat, he did a lot of petty robberies just to be able to provide food for himself. In that same year, he was arrested on suspicion of the knife-point rape of a sex worker. The next year, he was arrested yet again for the same thing. Both of these cases were also dropped. As I've looked and researched into this case, I find it absolutely incredible that he managed to get away with all of this, and it never really sparked the police to figure that he was escalating, that maybe he would do bigger things and worse things. I mean, he's been arrested for up to yet the rape of 5 women. How many more would he do before the police actually did something? If they did their jobs properly and maybe monitored him a bit closer, how many of these would have been prevented? In 2004, Peter served 1.5 years in prison for breaking the rules of the sex offender register. Peter then enrolled himself in a computer course at a local school. Yes, you heard it right, a local school. A rapist on the sex offender register was allowed to go to a local school for a course. I just can't believe that this actually happened. How could something like that slip so far under the radar. It really did shock me when I found this information. Peter then managed to get himself a new girlfriend and seemingly moved in with her. It was until he had an argument with the neighbours and the neighbour's house miraculously set on fire that Peter was then wanted for suspicion of arson, and of course he fled. And with living out of his car, the police could not locate him. Now back to 2009, the same year that he took poor Ashley's life. He was involved in a hit and run. Again, with him being homeless and him fleeing the scene, the police could not locate him. Moreover, on the actual night he abducted Ashley, cameras logged the fact that his car was being driven illegally 26 times. One single police check would have identified Chapman as the owner of the car, and Ashley's life would have been spared. On his fake Facebook profile, I did mention that he had nearly 3,000 friends. What I didn't actually mention was that all of those were women, and more than 100 of them were added the same day that he added Ashley. Peter obviously had some sort of obsession over women, thinking that he could do what he liked with them. He also had multiple fake profiles on various different platforms. The fact that he got away with all of this on social media, how many more people was he going to do this to? The police found many indecent photos on his laptop, which was stolen, by the way, from the numerous people he had been talking to, who thought it was okay to trust him and to send them pictures thinking they would be safe with him. He was even planning on meeting up with them in the days after Ashley's murder. Again, it's a good job they caught him when they did, because who knows how many of these girls would have suffered the same fate as Ashley. In my opinion, I feel like if the police managed to do their jobs properly and kept more of an eye on Peter Chapman, many of these crimes could have been prevented, and it probably would have even saved Ashley's life. It absolutely breaks my heart what happened to Ashley, and the fact that she was just so excited to meet this 17-year-old boy when it was in fact a 32-year-old murderer. Peter Chapman, around 6 months later, stood up in court and admitted to the kidnap, rape and murder of Ashley Hall. He pleaded guilty to all the charges against him. He was sentenced to life imprisonment with a minimum of 35 years, and he is currently serving his sentence in a high security Category A prison in County Durham. The police have since admitted that there are a lot of places in this case that they fell short, and that they could have done more. They could have possibly saved Ashley's life. And the reasoning behind this, they stated that they were understaffed and underfunded. Facebook went on to make a statement that they were deeply saddened by Ashley's murder and the circumstances surrounding it. They also stated that anyone under the age of 18 should never go and meet somebody they met online in real life. Her case came to serve as the most terrible warning to 5 million teenagers in the UK who used Facebook. It also became a flashpoint for controversy over the lax controls imposed over the social media platforms at the time of her murder. And it did actually lead to more measures being put in place to try and help prevent things like this happening again, and to try and protect the vulnerable. This case is really heartbreaking, and the fact that the police could have prevented it just makes matters worse. Things like this do actually happen all of the time. If making videos like this can help prevent a vulnerable person from making such a decision, and as sad as it is, we can actually learn from Ashley's story. Please guys, do take care when using the internet. It truly is a dangerous place with people catfishing all the time. You just don't know who they actually are. Anyway guys, that's all I have on the information of the murder of Ashley Hall. Thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And until next time, bye!